Now we review the 2023 film Fear. Because, you have to say it's 2023. There's a lot of films named Fear. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so I have just seen Fear, which is the story of a writer and his friends going to a lodge with a backstory that he hopes to write about while he has fun with his friends, saves his relationship during the COVID pandemic. It's kind of convoluted. Anyway, before I get into that, let me remind you that for every 1,000 subscribers I get, I do purchase one of these bracelets from 4Ocean. 4Ocean then pulls a pot of trash out of the ocean every time I do that. Now, on to Fear. Fear. The premise of this movie is overtly supernatural, and one of the things I noticed watching the trailer is the trailer actually has scenes from the last act, which is always a bad sign. It is always a bad sign. The later the scenes you see in the trailer, the later they appear in the movie, the worse the movie tends to be. This is not a hard fact, but it is a commonality. So, most of the action takes place in that final act, and the first half of the movie is rather dull. And one of the biggest problems is that the characters are not well defined. It's really hard for you to remember who's who. And, yes, some of them are black and some of them are white. So there's that. But I couldn't tell you a single character's name here, and most of the shots are so dark that you really can't see what's going on. Now, this film has, there's something they ingest that makes them initiates this, which it doesn't need because there essentially is some kind of a monster. Okay? It's not stated that they're hallucinating so much, but the hallucinations are brought on by the thing they ingested, which is a supernatural something or other. It's very convoluted. It's like they put a couple of movies, threw it into a blender, and left the top off, and then this is what came out. This is what didn't get splattered all over the kitchen. There's all this sort of stuff going. It's like, yes, okay, look, this could have been a movie, right, where you just had a couple of people went to the cabin, they had that conversation about fear, which sets up, okay, so this is the stuff that's going to happen to them. You know that. That's a common writing thing. And it's like, okay, they could have just had some acid or, some wine that was laced with a hallucinogen or something like that would have just, done this to them, made them go nuts. But no, there's got to be something else that's also, it's like, there's so much going on in this movie that it's really hard to lock down what's truly happening. And again, you don't really connect with the characters. And that connection, one part of connecting with the characters is that when you connect with the characters, you follow the story better. You are engaged in the story much more. This did not engage me with the character. I mean, one of my favorite examples of this, truly brilliant filmmaking, is the film 2001: A Space Odyssey. One of the things they did is they gave everybody their own color for their spacesuits. And that way, when you saw them, you knew that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. That's how that worked. So each one of these characters, had a distinctive mark. Goonies, another great example. You had Mikey, for example, who was always hitting the inhaler. And, it's like, he hits the inhaler, he hits the inhaler, he hits the inhaler. That's who he is. Chunk is always eating. Mouth is always talking. So on and so forth. And every character is basically given this repetition they do that cements their character into who they are. That is what's going on, all right? In this movie, the characters could have been swapped out. There was nothing saying who the heck they were or why. They just existed. And then there's the whole concept of isolating, which is, we're all familiar with it. There's been a pandemic. We've all had to shelter in place to a certain extent, or wear masks, or whatever has been going on. And there was like, okay, so we think this one guy is sick. So let's go wrestle with him and put him down in the basement so that we can keep everybody safe. Dude, why are you touching the sick guy? Let him sit where he is. He's fine. Don't mess with him. You know, that's what you need to do, is not mess with him. You need to leave him there. It's like, the stupidity is just mind-numbingly bad. Itchy nose. So that's kind of the thing about this movie, is it's all over the place. I bet that if I read this movie, it would probably be a lot easier to understand if I read the script, because it calls out the actors by name. But in the movie itself, you really don't have that sort of grounding, which is one of those basic problems. So yeah, I mean, again, Fear, it's what we often call a January movie. And the reason for that is, commonly in January, they put the crappiest movies of the year, because come Oscar season, no one's going to remember those films. You don't put a big sensation at the beginning of the year, because it loses its momentum by the time the award ceremony goes around. So the thing is, like, we can dump this in theaters to get some money back, and it'll go into streaming. And basically, a film being in theaters is just a advertisement for its home market anyway. So, you know, it's not where the theaters really make their money, or not where the production companies really make their money anymore anyway. So that's just how it is, you know. So yeah, look, this film is definitely fans of the genre only. It is a convoluted, confusing horror movie with very little strength to it. It's one of the reasons I had to go into so many tangents, because I could have just said, well, this is bad, and that would have been it. Anyway, like I say, fans of the genre only. That's just my opinion, though, and I'd love to hear yours in the comments below. I, of course, am Richard. Randall the Rat here once again, and I'm here to remind you humans to comment, like, and subscribe. And you know why? Well, have you watched the news? Mother Nature is pissed! And we can help, because each one of these necklaces I'm wearing, it's a medal from the Conqueror. And in addition to being awesome bling, each one of them represents 5 trees. 5 glorious trees that the owner of this channel has had planted. I'm wearing 5 of these, so I've got 25 trees around my neck. 25 of the more than 100 that have been planted so far. So if you want to do your part to unpiss off Mother Nature, listen to old Randall here, and comment, like, and subscribe. Or, of course, I could just eat your face and make there be less humans to pollute the environment. Global warming sucks, and you're delicious.